Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just released, and I thought I would make a video doing my playthrough of this game. Of course, I wanted to make this video more interesting, so I made this playthrough into a Nuzlocke challenge, which if you don't know what that means, it's very simple. Only one Pokemon can be caught per route, you have to nickname every Pokemon, if a Pokemon faints it can't be used anymore, and if I run out of Pokemon I have lost the challenge. If you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, and let's dive into this challenge. At the start of the game, I'm asked to choose a Pokemon from the 3 starters, just like in any other Pokemon game. This decision was a no-brainer for me. I have a soft spot for reptile Pokemon, and the fire type is one of my favorites, so I chose Fuecoco. And I named him after my favorite stuffed animal as a kid, which was a crocodile, Gunther. Gunther and I were gonna conquer this region, and nothing was gonna stop us. The game of course requires you to encounter a Lechonk, so that was my first encounter, and I wasn't gonna waste it. Chonky was on the team to take a hit in case things got spicy, and spoiler alert, they did. On the next route, I accidentally ran into Champ the Pachirisu and added him to the team. I was honestly thankful that I didn't run into something bad. Once I was free from school, I headed over to the bug type gym to get an easy badge. On the way, I was looking for a Pokemon to encounter and I saw some pretty decent options. There were Mareeps, Starlies, and plenty more options as well. I ended up going with Starly here because I already had an electric type and Intimidate would be such a helpful ability for later on. Welcome to the team Starhawk. I see a guy at the Pokemon Center and he tells me to fight trainers for a prize, so that's what I do since I'm overconfident in my Pokemon. Unfortunately, I ran into this trainer who gave me a run for my money. He leads off with a Psyduck, which I thought was his only Pokemon since every trainer to this point only had one. So I used my Terrestrialization on Pachirisu, who swiftly deals with the Psyduck. Afterwards though, he sends out a Mudbray, who had Rock Smash and Air Defense for my Starly and Lechonk, and Bulldoze for Gunther and Pachirisu. What I ended up doing is I growled with Starly until my defense was lowered many times by Rock Smash, and then I would switch to Gunther to reset the defense drops. And when they go for Bulldoze, I switch back to Starly who isn't affected by it, and then heal to restart the process. It's not the most noble strategy, but I was in a pickle here. After a lot of growling, I would chip away at it and keep healing. Once this thing finally goes down, I thought the battle was over and was relieved. Until the battle wasn't over. He sends out a Mastiff who I've never heard of before. I send out Lechonk to scope it out while I heal up Gunther, and of course the second this thing comes out, it starts raining, which nerfs Gunther's fire type moves. This thing does 3/4 of Lechonk's HP with one bite, so I must immediately switch out. When Gunther comes in, this thing starts setting up with Hone Claws, boosting its attack and accuracy, which eliminated the effects of my Mud Slap. Since it's raining and Mud Slap was now useless, I go for Round, which does a decent chunk. The problem was now that this thing had +3 attack with a 60 power move on the way, so I did something that I hoped I would never have to do, and I sacrificed Chonky. It was so sad to see him go this early, but he had the least of a role on my team. This sacrifice allowed me to safely switch into Pachirisu, who was terrestrialized and hopefully could take this thing down. I cross my fingers and go for the Thunder Shock, but it doesn't do enough and Champ sadly goes down as well. But this sacrifice was the only reason I won this battle, because Starhawk was able to outspeed and end the battle. Gunther evolved into Crocalor, but at what cost? Thankfully, we lost the 2 least valuable mons here, but the coverage and extra hits that could be taken no longer exists. This clearly did not sit well with Gunther, because he went on an absolute rampage, obliterating everything that remained on that route. Once Gunther had calmed down, I decided to kick an olive for a little bit and then took on Katie, the bug-type gym leader, who had absolutely no chance. I one-shotted her entire squad, giving me the first gym badge. On the next route, I catch James the Skiddo to make up for the water covers that was lost with Champ, as well as giving us a solution to ground and rock types. And also Starhawk evolved. The rest of the route leading to the next gym was blocked off by a bunch of Team Star members, who I take care of not because they dropped out, but because they blocked off the road and told me to get lost, so I'm not going to take that disrespect. After destroying the entire town, their boss comes out and battles me. His Pawniard wasn't really an issue, however his car definitely was. It hit like a truck, literally, and takes hits pretty well. It also apparently just sends James to sleep, which pretty much ends his battle, so I had to rotate between chipping away at it when I could take a hit, switching when I got metal sounded, and healing when I was low on HP. It was a very close call, but eventually this monster went down. Now that the barricade was down, I can make it to the next city, but before that, I dealt with the Titan and caught 2 Pokemon. Bombardier was super effective for my entire team, but I managed to defeat it without any deaths. On the way back, in the desert I found a Sandile, battle. I caught it and named it Sandy. Now Gunther had a crocodile friend. I also used the encounter for Area 2 of the West Province on the new Paldean Tauros because I'm a really big fan of Tauros. When I did make it to the next town, I realized that there were Arrokuda swimming in the rivers of the city. Arrokuda was one of the 4 Pokemon I had to have on my team. I love cool fish Pokemon like Sharpedo, and I had never played Sword and Shield before, so this was finally my chance to use it. I later found out that I was tricked and you could actually not catch these Arrokuda. They were decoration. So I looked up where they were and I found out that they were common ocean Pokemon. So I jumped off a cliff, accidentally ran into one somehow, caught it, and named it Era. I couldn't use it for a while though because it was 15 levels below the rest of my team. Now it was finally time for the second gym battle against Kofu, and this battle was one of the craziest battles I have ever had. I was of course underleveled, but I was growing impatient and just wanted to get this battle over with. He sends out this really cool fish Pokemon that I'm jealous of, and I immediately start double teaming. However, this thing does a stupid amount of damage with Aqua Cutter, and for some reason when I healed a billion times, it never missed once. Eventually I send in Mike the Tauros to lower its attack with Intimidate, and then I realize I can just Intimidate switch, so I go do that. Then I decide to try and do damage with Mike, and... okay, I have no clue why this is happening, but eventually it will obey, right?
Psych! Not today!
So I just give up and switch into Starhawk to quick attack this thing. He sends in Wugtrio next, and I switch into James to Terrasilize. I go for Razor Leaf and... nope! Well, isn't that lovely? I decide to go for a risky play and lower its attack with Starhawk while taking a hit in the process. Just like I calculated, he survives with very low health. I now switch to Mike for another Intimidate, and then he lives a Water Pulse with very low health. Since it's going for Water Pulse now, I go back into James and he lives the hit, but... you have to be kidding me. I heal and then go for the Razor Leaf and... pow! I hit myself in confusion. I heal and try again and... are you kidding me? Twice? I heal a third time and surely we'll hit this time, right?
Nope.
I heal for a 4th time and this time we will hit. We have to. Oh my goodness, we actually hit. Wugtrio goes down, and his last Pokemon is Crabominable. This is where I have a brain lapse. I send in Gunther to Ember because it's an ice type, but then after clicking, I had just realized that the ace of the gym leader terrasilizes into the type of the gym. So he terrasilizes into a water type, and then fires at Gunther with a 225 power Crab Hammer. But thankfully, he misses, and Gunther lives to see another day. Of course, he literally eats the Ember, and I have to switch. I again messed up because even though James resists the move, it still is a 90 base power move with stab. This meant that James had no chance when the move hit him and he went down. Immediately, my goal was to hit this thing with 3 Intimidates, even if it cost the lives of my Intimidate Pokemon. Starhawk comes in to lower this thing's attack and sacrifices itself in the process. Then I switch back to Mike, and I let Mike attack because I didn't want anyone else to faint, and he actually obeys me. It would have been helpful if he listened earlier, but I'll take what I can get here. Of course he hits another Crab Hammer and Mike goes down. Dusty comes out and I throw up a Desperation Swagger and we actually outspeed. It gets confused but it breaks out and kills Dusty. Then I bring in Gunther and prayed that this thing would either miss or hit itself, and it breaks through and lands the Crab Hammer to kill Gunther. Now all that was left was my baby Barracuda that had no chance, and just like that, it was over. I had lost.